The days are longer, the calendar is filling up, and I want to feel as good as this beautiful summer weather. That's why I've been loving Groons. It's one daily pack of gummies that covers my greens, vitamins, and minerals, and even has 6 grams of prebiotic fiber. So I don't need to juggle a complicated wellness routine on top of everything else. They taste amazing. They're easy to toss in my bag on the go. Plus, they're vegan, gluten free, and HSA, FSA eligible for reimbursement. Save up to 52% off with promo code podcast at gruns.co. That's code podcast at gruns.co.
From the kids to Aunt Sue, keep your whole family connected on all their devices with crowd-pleasing gig speed internet from Xfinity. Now that's simple, easy, awesome. Go online, call 1-800-XFINITY or visit today. Restrictions apply. Actual speed vary and not guaranteed.
Well, our last show was a blast. We had our first live show in a while. We did it at Dulono's Pizza downtown Minneapolis. That's 118 North 4th Street, Minneapolis. And it was so good to see all of our friends, all of our longtime listeners, a lot of new listeners. One guy drove up like from Iowa. I'm sitting there chatting with him before the show, and he's leaving after the show, and he goes, I got a 2-3 hour drive. I'm like, you came 2 or 3 hours to see us? I wouldn't walk across the street to see us, Michael. But
Yeah,
luckily, a lot of people apparently will.
Humbling, and it was awesome. It was also great to see how many more people came.
Yes.
Really than our other live shows. So I think that's really cool, and it's such a great venue. I mean, you can stand right in front of, stand or sit right essentially with us, and it seemed like the acoustics were pretty awesome in there. And welcome everybody to come out July 24th. At 5:30 p.m. I'll probably have a lot more carbs in my system at that point because after about a week and a half in Italy.
Yeah, well, you're having, we don't have to ask the traditional question on the podcast, what do you do during the summer? We now know. You do live shows at Dulono's, and you travel to Italy. I'm a little jealous. In fact, my wife is now talking to me about, we got to go to Italy.
Yeah, no, it's going to be my third or fourth time there. My last
What's
time
the best part?
Well, it's just awesome. Just seeing history.
Which is actually literally the best part of Italy to go to?
I have never been to this part, so I'm really looking forward to it. I've been to like Venice, Florence. Florence is incredible.
My daughter was in Florence for a study thing, and she loved it.
Mm-hmm. I want to go to Sicily one day because that's technically my heritage, and I've never been there. Coincidentally, my
explains
mother
the anger.
Yeah. I have a lot of things that can explain the anger. And from that family side. And then my mother actually just went to Italy fairly recently, and she absolutely loved it. And I'm just looking forward, like, we land in Milan and go up to, like, Como, Bellagio, which is apparently incredible. Like, Lunani just sent me, like, 50 restaurants we have to check out. Unfortunately, we're only there, like, a day and a half. And then we're doing Cinque Terre. We're staying in like a Tuscan villa for 4 days, and this villa apparently has its own wine label there. So like you just buy wine there, and then we're going to Venice for a couple days. So really looking forward to it. We leave in 4 hours, and I'm looking at Snapchat, and AJ LaPanta like a minute ago has a picture of his dad Anthony in like the weeds trying to find his ball. So I just sent Margot a text. I said, do me a favor, tell AJ and Anthony to bring their passports and to remind them that we're going to Italy in a couple hours. And she wrote me back. She goes, AJ, I reminded about the passport this morning and said that he definitely would have forgotten if I didn't remind it, and Anthony hasn't packed yet. So
all Anthony
that's
needs
what
is a
I'm going to
little
be
hair
dealing
gel
with
and
for the
a
next
pair of cargo shorts, and
Yeah.
he's set.
No, he's very proud of the fact. He says he doesn't use any hair product.
I know he does. He always says, and I actually believe him, but I'm not going to stop.
No, I
accusing
definitely
him.
see it because every time we're in the kind of like the I can't even think of the word, but not, like kind of dressing room area there.
You need more coffee.
where FSN gets ready, it pisses me off. He puts his hand under the sink, puts a couple like drops of water in, and then just puts it in his hair. All right, let's go.
Yeah, no, it's a genetic. He's a genetic freak in terms of hair.
Yeah,
We talk about athletes who are genetic freaks. He is a freak.
yes, no doubt, he's a freak. Man, so
Let me interrupt so I actually introduce the show. He's
Yep.
Michael Russo from The Athletic. I'm Jim Souhan from the Star Tribune. This is our hockey show on TalkNorth.com. We're starting to do more live shows. The network's doing very well. We appreciate all of our listeners for helping us get this far. Next live shows are July 17th, 6 o'clock at Free House with Cheryl Reeve, and July 24th, 5:30 at Dulono's with Michael Russo. We're also looking at a couple of venues for our other shows. We're doing very well with sponsorships for the fall. I will say we have some new shows, including a new soccer show with Craig Mallis, former Minnesota United player, who also has international connections. And we'd love to start building up sponsors for his show. And if you'd like to kind of get in on the ground floor in some shows, we have some brand new shows like the Shaver and Jordan Taylor show, The Flow. You can get in for a very low price just to kind of help those shows get off the ground. If you'd like to work with us at any price point, we can get you in someplace. Thanks to our sponsors, Dulono's, Twill and the Edina Galleria, FixologyRepair.com, and Tony Hoaglund, your State Farm agent in Champlin. What's the first hockey topic you want to get to today before we get back to travel and lifestyles of the rich and famous?
Development camp starts on tomorrow. 10th to the 15th. Scrimmages open to the public July 12th at 2 p.m. and July 15th at 5:30. Double check online because I'm doing that by memory and I don't have a good one. So we're going to be at the Athletic. We'll be there throughout. Nick Kelly, incredible intern who's just a jack of all trades right now for us and very, very invaluable now with me taking off for the next little bit. And Chad Graff, who, by the way, is about to write an incredible story that all Wild fans want to see, something that they've been asking me a lot about in the last couple months. Definitely read that. But Chad's also leaving the country. He's getting married and honeymoon. Wow. So Nick will be there at development camp for us and Jake Jensen as well, who works for us as a contributor. And so both of them will have that covered like a blanket. And then Wednesday, the Beauty League starts at Braemar. They're every Wednesday night in July, then twice a week in August until the playoffs. The roster is as good as it was last year. 3 games a night, a 4-on-4, $10 to get in for all 3 games. If you're under 10 and shorter than Buffalo and Stick, you get in free. Definitely go to that. And I'll be covering that when I get back to the country, but Nick will be there as well doing a bunch of cool stories. Other stuff going on right now. Again, they're trying to work out a trade. I really would be shocked if while I'm out of the country, Zucker and Dumba resign, but it'll happen because they both filed for arbitration. So they'll eventually get their deal done in advance of a ruling. It doesn't, technically, people write this wrong. You can go to actually have a hearing and still settle before the actual arbitrator gives out his award, and that has happened in the past. But very rarely does it actually get to a hearing. So I think both will be re-signed long term. But I do think that Paul Fenton is very nervous about giving 2 more guys over $5 million. I got to look this up, but the Wild have to have as many players, if not more, in the league making $4 million or more as any team. And I think that's one big reason why they can almost never get in on a lot of this, a lot of the big trades or big free agents. And I know that's stuff that frustrates fans.
Interesting. Let's go ahead and thank Dulono's. And by the way, stayed and had their pizza, had their old-fashioned Tattersall bitters and all that kind of stuff. It's a cool place to hang out. Huge, great for sports fans. Huge, big screen TVs everywhere. There's a back room with bubble hockey, which is my favorite game of all time, pool tables, video games. For an idiot like me, it's the perfect place to hang out. It's just a blast. But
Darts.
Their pizza is so good, and it's my kind of pizza. It's the kind of pizza that goes well with a beer. Let's put it that way.
Right.
And they have sandwiches and all kinds of other stuff. You can find their menu online. Check them out online or check them out on Twitter, Dulono's Pizza. And again, July 24th,
5:30 p.m.
5:30 p.m. Want to make sure we get that right. They also have a huge delivery area. We obviously are highlighting the place in Minneapolis. They also have their place in Woodbury, but they have a huge delivery area, and we highly recommend it after checking out everything they had to offer the other day. And let's get
Lunch buffet, $9.99.
That's right, lunch buffet $9.99, and also
During the week.
huge
weekend,
long happy hours. They make it really easy to show up and get a good deal as well as good stuff. But I wanted to thank our primary sponsor on the podcast, Twill in the Edina Galleria, twillmn.com, Twill on Instagram. I've been wearing my Peter Millar stuff. I've been wearing my Barber stuff, my Johnny O stuff might be my favorite. And as I always tell you, it's in the Edina Galleria, which makes it a really easy, classy shopping experience, and they have so much cool golf stuff and casual stuff up front that you can just pop in, get a shirt, and get really good customer service.
Jim usually doesn't like to shop for clothes. I don't like it when he shops for clothes either, because he used to buy stuff I'd want to throw out. That's why I'm so glad he's found Twill in the Edina Galleria. He likes shopping there because of the comfortable environment and the friendly staff. He finds clothes that actually fit him properly and are high-quality brands that will look great for years, whether he's golfing or working. Our favorites so far are Peter Millar, Johnny O, and Barber. We spend our money at Twill because we love the clothes and we love the no-pressure shopping. Drop by Twill in the Edina Galleria for the best shopping experience and best clothes you'll find in the Twin Cities.
All right, more hockey, or should we talk about the trip to Italy more?
No, let's talk hockey.
So what, for somebody who isn't as plugged in as you are on hockey, just tell me what I should be looking. What's the next big shooter drop in the NHL right now?
I think Dumba gets in the NHL.
Eric in the NHL or with the Wild.
Yeah, in the NHL, Erik Karlsson's going to get traded, I think, at some point. The other thing is I do think that sooner rather than later, and probably after his meeting with Panarin in Russia or in Europe, Jarmo Kekalainen is going to have to trade Panarin. I just don't think that they want to play out what just happened with John Tavares and lose another guy. This is an organization that always loses guys for nothing, and I think that they got to get ahead of it. And so the problem with that, getting ahead of it, is that, and right now he has not given the agent permission to talk to anybody. And if the agent hasn't talked to anybody, you can't give up big assets for a guy that you're not assured is going to sign an extension immediately. And because you don't want to trade great assets for Panarin, and then all of a sudden he tells you, same thing, I'm not ready to sign long term. And so I think that one is as much as he's perfect for the Wild, it makes very little sense for them to get in on him unless they know for 100% certainty that he's going to sign here. And sorry, he's not. Next, Karlsson. Looked like it was imminent to Tampa, but Tampa's got to move a bunch of contracts. I think Dallas is back in it. And I just think that he's going to, again, another player that really controls his destiny, because not only does he have to sign there, but he's got to waive his no moves, no trades. So, Karlsson, somebody the next thing. In terms of the Wild, I think Dumba gets done first, then Zucker. Zucker's the person that is asking for a lot of money right now, where I think Dumba understands where his worth is at this point, or his value. And I just think the numbers make more sense there, where I think Zucker's agent is he's over 6 right now, is my guess. And the Wild want to give him between 5 and 5.25 would be my guess. I'm sure they would like to go below 5, but he's Nino's contract, in my opinion. And Nino might have a little more pedigree because he has 3 years of 20 goals, where Zucker has 2. And maybe and Nino has been better in the playoffs, although both of them failed this past postseason. So maybe the Wild would like to get him in under Nino. But here's the deal. All the leverage is on Jason right now. He's filed for ARB. He can't get a 1-year ARB, or the Wild are going to lose him in free agency most likely, unless they somehow extend him in January. And if they don't get it done now, I don't see why they get it done with January. And he's 1 year from UFA, where Nino wasn't. So he's got all the leverage. He probably also knows that their team like Vegas is 100% going to come after him. And even if it's not Vegas, there's plenty of great places that are going to want to pay him. So he's got all the leverage. So they might have to come in north of where they want to sign him long term. And that's where, if he's playing too much hardball, and this is too much for the Wild's stomach, paying him 5.7 or something on a long-term deal, they really legitimately might trade him.
Wow. If they felt forced to trade them, do you think they'd get value that would make the average Wild fan happy?
Well, that's the problem again. is just, I mean, every big name that's on the trading block right now that you keep on hearing has the same issue for the team that's trading for them. They're all a year from UFA. So they control their future, which means that usually now you don't give up a lot of assets. These are the type of guys that go at the trade deadline for significant assets when they're, Martin Hansel type deals. So that's the scary thing here is, Jeff Skinner's one, Wayne Simmons is one, Carlson's one, Panarin's one, Zucker is one, obviously. Dumba is not a year from UFA, so he's in a different story. So that's the problem is that, Zucker at this point probably doesn't get you the value unless, again, Paul Fenton lets his people talk to the team that wants him and says, well, you extend them. If you're Vegas right now, why would you give up why would you give up a 7th-round pick for Zucker? You're going to get him for nothing next year, most likely anyway. Nothing meaning just paying him. So you're not giving up a move. And there's where, again, he's got leverage. Like, let's just say in the back of Jason's mind, he wants to go to play in Vegas. First of all, let me rephrase that. Jason wants to re-sign here long term. But he knows a UFA that it's very easy and very likely that they would come after him. So if you're Jason, you're not going to tell another team, yeah, I'll sign there, because you're probably going to see if Vegas comes after you. So I don't see how you get quality value now. I don't.
Wow. I have a question about all the $4 million players. First, let's thank Fixologyrepair.com. Fixology Repair, Mall of America, 3rd floor by Nordstrom's, downtown, just south of the Wells Fargo Center, in the Skyway. John Hedges came out to our show the other day and seemed to be having a very good time. He didn't even want to come up and talk to us. He was just having a good time drinking beer and hanging out with his buddies. That's one of the things we love about live shows, is we get to kind of reconnect with not only our listeners and our friends, but also our sponsors. Because the way, this is a personal business. This isn't a big corporation or anything. The people who support the podcast we become friends with, and it's been a blast. So please, I think Fixology Repair can do you some good if you need a device repaired, if you want to buy a new watch, or to have your watch repaired. But also, we would appreciate if you support their business because they support ours. Fixologyrepair.com.
There are some things in life that you just can't live without. Now, whether it's a special piece of jewelry, a watch, or even your smartphone, you want it in working condition. At Fixology Repair, we are committed to restoring your pieces so that everything works or fits the way it ought to. Watch servicing, chain repair, and broken screen replacements are just a few of the services that we offer at our 2 locations, Mall of America and the Skyway in downtown Minneapolis. Please visit us at Fixologyrepair.com or at FixologyMN on Twitter to learn more. Mention this ad and get a 10% discount on our services.
So all the $4 million players on the roster, is that happenstance? Is that a philosophical direction that Fletcher took that ended up biting him?
Well, no. I mean, it's their happenstance. They drafted 3 guys in 2010 and then traded for 2 others that are 2010 picks. So, you have all these guys that are the same age that they got ahead of. Brodin's market is what it is, although I think he's overpaid. Dubnyk, as much as everybody was complaining about that contract at the time, he's like the 24th highest paid starter or something now. Yeah. So that's the problem. The Wild, the way that this franchise has been built, and then they obviously went out and I think overpaid for, or not overpaid, but they obviously went out and signed Suter and Parisi at the time, and then, I'm not saying that they're underpaid or I'm just saying at the time that was the market to get them. And then, Mikko at 5.5 is a big ticket. So it's just the way it is. Somebody was asking me the other day how the heck Spurgeon got to his number so quickly. But I could tell you why. They overpaid him in his second deal. I mean, that 3-year deal at $275, even though it worked out, I can't imagine that was really the market for him at that time. Then he actually plays well on that contract, and now they got to double his contract, almost double his contract for the 5.87. So, there's just their contract structure is just, there are some teams that are top heavy and bottom heavy and nothing in the middle. The Wild are top heavy with 2-3 guys, if you include Koivu, and then all the middle heavy. And then what it does is it puts them in a position where on free agency, they got to go sign guys to $650,000 deals this year. So, it's just the way that things have been built here. And this is why I've used this term 1,000 times on all 150, 60, 70 of our podcasts. They made their bed 3-4 years ago. And it had to work or it was going to be a problem. They were going to get themselves stuck. They made their bed with this. When they started committing to everybody, Coyle, Zucker, Nino, and decided to pay them all and not move any of them, it just meant that you would never get into the Tavares game. You would never get into the Carlson game. You'd never be able to. And so what was so disconcerting about this past postseason is the guys they made their bed with all played poorly in the playoffs. And it wasn't just produced. I mean, look, I love Zuck, but just go look at his game. I mean, look at his first shift in Game 5. I mean, the guy, they all didn't play well. Of the three of them, Nino probably played the best, and he just couldn't get anything done. And so it's just, this is what it is at this point. But, if they don't make a trade going into the season, I don't think that it's the worst thing in the world. I know that fans are frustrated right now, and I think I've said this on the last podcast, but at this point, I'd rather Paul Fenton not make a bad trade for the sake of making a trade. You're almost better at this point if you don't get the perfect deal to wait it out, go into this season. You're home heavy to begin with. Try to gain a cushion. Get his eyes on these guys at first. I said this the other day. I mean, when we asked him about the Nick Seeler extension, he's like, I really don't even know who he is. I'm paraphrasing. And that's not, but that's a new GM.
It's reality. Yeah.
He was trusting his guys, and they gave him a team-friendly deal. So it's almost better for him, like before he makes a bad trade by maybe moving a Zucker or a Nino or something, get your eyes on these guys. Say, oh my God, actually we can't lose him. Or, oh my God, I better get rid of him. And again, the goal is, this group has gotten them in the playoffs 6 years in a row. So there's a better than likely chance they're going to get in. So, use them almost. And then maybe in the second half of the season, you can figure out a way to add a player or two at the deadline that could potentially get you over the hump. We'll see. Or it could go the opposite way, and they could go belly up, rug pulled out from under them, and then at the deadline, you're moving Zucker, Stahl, all these guys that are UFAs.
Isn't it amazing how in every sport the offseason ends up fooling people so often? Either people just think that offseason moves, free agents moves are instant fixes, and they are about 10% of the time, 20% of the time?
Well, it's not even that. I mean, just look at how many stories I wrote in June. Here are the free agent targets that they can go after. Now, that I at least pegged because you just did the math there.
Right.
But, how about the trade one? Here's the guys that could potentially be on the move that, you can go after. And, of course, it doesn't come to fruition. And now in hindsight, when they haven't made a trade, you start looking at it and dissecting it, and you're like, wait a minute, it kind of makes sense. Mm-hmm. They're scared to trade a defenseman because they don't know about Suter. And again, read The Athletic this week. They are... Coyle's coming off a poor year. Nino, his value isn't what you might want because somebody's taking on 4 years at 5.25. They don't want to trade their best scorer in Granlund. Eric, like Zucker, is a year from UFA. And frankly, Eric's the type of person too on Eric that even if this season does go belly up and they have to trade him at the deadline, that can be one of those things where you get a bunch of assets on the deadline and then go back after him July 1.
Right.
I mean, that wouldn't be a bad thing.
Yeah.
In fact, there's another thing where the Wild never get to do what some other crappy teams get to do because they're always good enough to make the playoffs. I mean, it was a horrendous deal, but remember when the Wild gave up all those stupid assets for Matt Molson and Cody McCormick?
Yes,
and both of them.
Molson.
And again, Chuck Fletcher doesn't put any sort of if you resign, there's ways at the deadline to say, all right, I'll give you 2 seconds for Molson, but if you resign him, I get some sort of asset back. He didn't do that, and then he looked like a fool. He was terrible here, awful in the playoffs, and then he resigns there on a 5-year deal. And you're just like, alrighty. You just gave him a bunch of assets, and they got him back. Now it turned out to be a horrendous deal that Tim Murray gave Molson, and the guy's buried right now, but whatever.
Yeah. If you would like to advertise anywhere on the network, including this show, email me jsouhan47@gmail.com. Thanks to our current sponsors, including Tony Hoaglund, Hoaglund. He's another one of our sponsors who showed up for the live show at Dulono's. And Tony's always great to have around. We had dinner with Tony the other night as well. This Saturday, if you hear this, we're going to do a couple live shows at Tony's place. Let me make sure I get the address right. We're going to do the Tim Yoder Viking Update show at about 12:30 there, and we're going to have one of our newer shows, Ryan Shaver and Jordan Taylor, doing their basketball, beer, and rap and whatever else show. That'll be 11:30 out at Tony's place, which is 11351 Aquila, Aquila Drive North, number 104 in Champlin, Minnesota, or you can just Google Tony Hoaglund, Hoaglund. And if you stop by, we'd love to see you.
Hey, Minnesota sports fans. This is your local State Farm agent, Tony Hoaglund. I need you all to ask yourselves this question. If you're in an at-fault car accident and you are sued for $700,000, how much of that $700,000 will my current insurance company pay? If you are unsure or can't answer all $700,000, you need to give us a call. State Farm has been number one in car insurance since World War II and number one in homeowners insurance since 1964. For a no-obligation review of your current policies, call us at 763-421-4900 or check out our website at www.champlininsurance.com.
All right, Twitter questions, unless you have something else you want to get to.
Nope, Twitter questions.
And by the way, I don't know, it was a couple weeks ago, we ended up doing a lot of Twitter questions, and a lot of them were like sarcastic, and I didn't get the sarcasm, and a lot of them were like, phrased in a certain way, and I sped read them and didn't. I'm not always, I don't like do a lot of prep on the Twitter portion of the segment. We just kind of speed through it. So you might want to just make it really plain, really short, really obvious.
That's good. Blame them. That's good.
I'm blaming myself.
Blame your lack of sarcasm on them.
I'm saying I'm not a very good reader when it comes to doing this kind of show. So
I would if I were you. And one reason why I didn't pick up on the sarcasm is I actually purposely, just like when I do TV and radio, I purposely don't read the Twitter questions before the show because I don't want to have rehearsed answers. Right. I want to just kind of be off the cuff. But maybe I should start doing it. But one thing actually that's the smart thing is just go through and like them so then you have them to ask. I do that when I do like fill in for you for LaPanta. With LaPantas, I'll like the things so I at least keep it. I do feel bad though because probably I have muted like probably so many people. So like I don't know if you're the same way. So people are probably asking you questions that you're not even seeing. Do you mute people?
I mute people. And honestly, this is a very personal thing. It's probably smart as a business owner and a public figure to just let everybody
unmute them,
do crazy stuff on your timeline. I'm old and I'm cranky. I don't want to wake up in the morning and see 18 people saying nasty things or ripping me, or I don't have the patience for it.
He's probably listening right now.
Yeah.
But the other night, I went to the Basilica Block Party, and afterwards, Paul Fletcher and I went with a bunch of people to Butcher and the Boar.
Mm-hmm.
And Paul has a friend that meets us there, and the first thing I shake his hand. The first thing he says to me, he goes, "You're the only person that's blocked me on Twitter." So that didn't make the rest of the night awkward. So
how did the rest of the night go?
That was fine. Nice guy.
Okay.
Apparently, I went through and unblocked him because I could see him and he could still me, and he wasn't blocked. So maybe
you muted him.
He told me that what I said to him is it's too early in the morning for this or something, which is 100% something I would say.
Yes, it is.
Because I am one of those people. It's like I wake up cranky. I do usually look at Twitter first to see if I miss anything. If the first thing somebody says to me is like something that really ticks me off, I will probably block them. That's the time. So if you're gonna be an absolute jack off, I would wait till midday or at night to say it to me, and not over where the first thing I'm gonna do in the morning is see it. But I probably, because I said that to him, probably like later in the day it popped in my head and I probably went through and unblocked him.
Right.
Because I do that too. Like there are times where I realize, all right, that was a stupid, dumb, immature thing that I just did. And I'll go through and unblock them. And then it's up to them to figure out that they've been unblocked. But
for me, it really is a time of day two thing. So my advice is if you want to send me a nasty message. I would do it during that time of day when I'm in a good mood, and that is between 1:18 and 1:21 p.m. most weekdays.
I would say that there's a good bet that we haven't muted or blocked most people on this podcast, because those people are probably respectful, like listening to us, so they're probably not. Yeah, but those people are probably like sitting there, like if they hated us, they're not gonna sit there and listen to our freaking voices, my obnoxious, whiny voice for an hour.
You know, I like your obnoxious, whiny voice.
Yeah.
Oh, we do need a dog update. Your mother's dog, Oliver, was attacked.
Yeah.
And really badly hurt. And
yeah,
someone who just loves my dog, I just can't imagine going through what she's going through.
No, she was almost destroyed. My brother said it was bad. Well, I mean, I've seen the pictures, but yeah, Thursday, late afternoon. And you know when something happens and like there's an emergency, and then all of a sudden, like at the same time, like friends start calling you, like somebody that we're talking to maybe come to the Athletic, like, you know, that he called to, you know, talk to me about the, you know, the business, like, and I'm just like, it was unbelievable how many times, like during that, I'm like sending people to voicemail because I was trying to figure out what was going on. But yeah, I mean, apparently Thursday around 4 or 5 p.m. Eastern time, my mom was walking the dog and talking to a woman, and I don't know if not paying attention or whatever, but another dog just started barking, and if you knew, my mom has a toy poodle named Oliver, and he cowers at the sight of most people. And so I don't know if this other dog recognized weakness or whatever. And I did find out subsequently that this other dog was a rescue dog, so who knows in its previous life how abused it was. But this dog charged at Oliver and grabbed him, like, you know, by the neck and didn't let go.
Oh my God.
And the 8th grade daughter of the woman that my mom was talking to essentially could not, first of all, the owner did very little at all to get the dog off. And finally, the 8th grade daughter couldn't get the dog to let go, like place kicked the thing, like, you know, like a place kicker, you know,
Good Lord.
to get it off. And it was, I mean, my mom had to rush the dog to the animal hospital. My mom's T-shirt that she was wearing honestly looked like she had brought a gunshot victim to the hospital. It was that much just ripped open on Oliver. And luckily, for like hours, and then at that same time at the animal hospital, like 4 or 5 dogs came in cardiac arrest. So they get, believe it or not, they get like, because of that they get priority. So this dog was just like literally sitting on a table for hours, just essentially with a towel around it, not being treated. Then they finally sent my mother home, and they did like a 3-hour surgery on Oliver, and called my mother up at like 4 a.m. to pick him up. And so yeah, he survived, seems to be getting better, but had surgery. And you know, like when humans have surgery, you have these drains in because you're bleeding internally. He's had all these drains coming out of him, basically, where he's essentially been open bleeding for like 3-4 days. So he apparently is much, you know, getting better. Got the tubes out today, and you know, is still a little skittish, I would assume.
Wow. Well,
yeah.
I'm so sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
Best wishes to Oliver and your mother. All right, let's get back to hockey. From Nikolai, were you ever able to decipher what the reasoning was for Fenton backing out of those trades, or what they were trying to do with the cap space after, if they had made them?
I'll be honest. What I've deciphered is kind of what I've insinuated from the very beginning. It wasn't the Wild that backed out. It was Arizona. And again, I the way that I understand it is, I mean, and I don't think it's a shock, is that, you know, Pat Brisson and John Chaika worked for Pat Brisson, the Arizona GM. That's how he got his start. Brisson represents both guys that were traded head-to-head in the deal. And I think that Chaika was used by the agent I think it's very clear when you read between the lines what happened there. You know, I mean, look, Brisson's a great agent, and he's got some unbelievable players. But look, I mean, you know, Austin Matthews just got rid of him. Max Pacioretty fired him because he felt he was too cozy with Mark Bergevin. I mean, you know, agents have people that they're tight with, and sometimes players need to recognize that, and that's what I think happened there. But I don't know. I assume what he would have done with the cap space is gone after a James Neal or a JVR or something like that in free agency.
Interesting. From Dave Johnson, who is Fenton most impressed with between Eck, Greenway, and Cunnin?
He hasn't talked about that. I don't think he was really familiar with really any of them, other than maybe Jordan Greenway, because one, he made his NHL debut in Nashville, and two, is Fenton is really good friends with David Quinn, the Boston University coach, and now the Rangers coach. And I think I've told this story before. Fenton is actually the person. So my buddy. Longest friend in the entire world works for the Nashville Predators. So every time I'm in Nashville, he'll bring me down just to they got an incredible club underneath Bridgestone Arena for big time season ticket holders, where it's like open bar, open food, and it's crazy. And it's one of those places, by the way, that if you're wearing like a Minnesota Wild jersey, you're not allowed in. Like you're only, you can only wear regular clothes or Nashville stuff. So he always brings me down there just to not to eat or drink, but just to go. There are people down there that he's friends with. I'm friends with a lot of people in the Nashville organization. So we're going down there, and I run into Paul Fenton in March. And by the way, I said to him, I might be dealing with you in a little bit. But Fenton actually goes, hey, you see who's here? I'm with David Quinn. And I'm like, wait, what is he doing here? He goes, he's surprising Jordan Greenway for his NHL debut. So I'm like, can I grab him? And I grabbed Quinn, and I did the story, and I embargoed it until warm-up, so Greenway didn't know that Quinn was there, just in case, 30 minutes before the game. He was on Twitter. So it was Fenton that actually arranged my exclusive. I would have never known until after the fact, when then, everybody started asking Greenway. Well, I've written the story, and then everybody started asking Greenway about Quinn being there. So my guess is, and the other thing that Quinn has, really impressed upon Fenton is that this guy really can play center. So there's something intriguing about maybe trying to put Eriksson Ek and Greenway on the same line to start camp, and maybe even switching one play wing, one play center, and see which one wins the job, or not just wins the job, but wins that position. Mm-hmm. So
interesting. Another one from Dave is Zucker for Tuck, even thinkable.
Again, why would Vegas do that? If Vegas thinks they're going to get Zucker, why would you give up Tuck when they can get him in a year? So no. And the other thing is, if Vegas is in on Carlson, I bet you Tuck's in that deal.
From Kyle Miller, if Koivu has another subpar season, how long does Boudreau wait to diminish ice time or his role?
Koivu had a subpar season offensively. Let's just again be clear on this. And he wasn't as great in the faceoff circle, but defensively he did his job. There is a reason why he was top 5 again in Selke, but it was his lowest point total in a full season, non-lockout, since 11-12. And I do think there just comes a point. I think that Koivu holds back Granlund. There just comes a point that Granlund should not play with him.
Yep. If
you want to get the best out of Granlund. And we saw that. I think when he was with Stahl, it was good stuff. So what was the rest of the question?
That's it.
I think that Bruce would like to, as the season progresses, get Eriksson Ek in an elevated role. And that could mean even if you almost don't make it very obvious to Koivu that you are the third line center, you'll still see him go first in line rushes. You'll still, in warm-ups, I guarantee it. But ice time wise, matchup wise, he's never going to go down to 12, 13 minutes, nor would you want Mikko to do that. He's still, he's still a good player. But in hindsight, and this is hindsight, because I did not have a problem with the extension at the time. In hindsight, you wish they didn't do it.
Right. No, agreed. Patrick Gage, how confident...
And by the way, a lot of that's on the owner. If the owner in the back of his mind thought that he was going to fire Chuck in the last year of his deal, he should have been stepping in front of some of these moves. Mm-hmm. He should have been stepping in front of the extensions that he gave all his friends. Mikko's one of those guys. If you going in the last year of the deal, you have to worry about what a GM is going to do. This is why that you don't want ever a GM, or frankly a coach working in the last year of the deal, because sometimes they're not acting in the right, thing that you're going to want as the new. You almost got to think would the new GM want to be handicapped by this?
From Patrick Gage, how confident are you that Fear can consistently play fourth center and do well?
I've got to see him more. I will say I liked his game in San Jose. I don't think he was buried in San Diego because of being a poor player in Toronto. That's the way I understand it, is that just, he was going for fourth line center and dominant, and basically somebody else won the job. And then they were essentially doing him a favor because I think he lives out in San Diego. So they just said, they loaned him to the Ducks organization to play there. It wasn't that Toronto was trying to get rid of him. Like, everything I know about Eric Ferry is just a great guy. Every time I've interviewed him, he's just a terrific guy. He grew up with Justin Falk, the old Wild Justin Falk, not the local Justin Falk. They grew up together in Manitoba. The one thing where I just don't like it, but again, for that price at the fourth line, they had to go $1 million. They weren't getting guys like Derek Ryan for that, or Riley Nash. The only thing I don't like is that consistently in his career, he hasn't been a good face-off guy. And the whole point of getting him was that the Wild haven't had a right-shot center in the last year, especially on the penalty kill. So, if you're going to put him out there on the penalty kill, which Fair is a great penalty killer, and he's going to be losing draws, and now you're starting in your own zone because all power plays start in your D zone, opposing power plays start in your D zone. That's where the issue goes. So, maybe the hope is by the time that if you realize that he's not good enough, that you've put yourself in a position where Cunning's back, where you could feel comfortable bringing him up. They have other minor leaguers, Ferraro, Cal O'Reilly, other guys you can put in that position as well.
Good questions, Dave. Dave sent us about 8 questions. Just for the sake of fairness, I'm going to go to other people at this point, but they are good questions. From Derek Felska, is The Athletic going to send any of its staff to cover the Beauty League? I think you already answered that.
Yep.
And do you know if they will be streaming the prospect camp scrimmages again this year?
I assume. I don't know that. And in terms of the Beauty League, we're going to have some awesome features throughout. It's not going to be. My plan is not to do like I did a huge Beauty League feature last year for the Strib, but to me, where our stories are going to be are just actual player stories. And stuff like talking to Letty and one I went talking to Letty and Lee about the new changes in Long Island, in Brooklyn, and with Lamorello Trotz and No Tavares, stuff like that. Picking player features. I want to do stuff on a couple of guys there.
From Zach Brown, what is keeping Stalock from being an NHL number one?
Probably size, the ability to play on a consistent basis. He's just. You look at him. I mean, he's an incredible puck handler, but there are times where it's just you beat him upstairs. I mean, these guys just light up at a player that size, a goalie that size. It's not like the old days when you had a league full of Archer Zerbe and Mike Vernons and John Van Beesbrooks and stuff like that.
From Cody Pollock, do you have any more updates on injuries? Suter, Parisi, Cunnin?
Parisi still kind of feels it in his chest. That's why he didn't play golf in that thing, the United Heroes charity tournament at the end of July. But he's going to be fine well in advance of camp. Cunnin, I talked to at the draft, and he said that his goal is to be ready by day one of training camp. And Suter, read The Athletic this week.
From Brett, thumbs up, thumbs down, neutral.
On what? What? Sorry.
On Suter.
You know what? I honestly don't know. I'm not doing the story.
Okay, got it.
Yep.
From Brent Winthizer.
But I will tell you, I mean, everything that I've heard from him, I've texted with him a lot, is that he is definitely on track. I know he's driving because I saw some pictures today of the reporter that's with him. Now I'm giving everything away.
Yeah,
we have somebody down there, and he's with him, and I assume the pictures I was seeing was with our guy in the passenger seat. So yeah.
From Brett Winthizer, are we ever going to find out more about the job you were offered by a team years back, or is that still secret stuff?
No, I mean that I don't even remember that I said that. Atlanta.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. Okay, good.
Actually, that was in front office. I've been offered other jobs working not in I wouldn't say media relations, but in kind of like a Dan Myers role, like Wild.com type thing. Not for them, but I'm saying like, being a team reporter for its teams. I've been offered that. And then I've turned down the league 3 times. One came very, very, very close to taking it. Yeah.
From Chris Noble, where on your list of Trampled by Turtle shows would you place the show in Duluth this weekend?
Every time I see him, I think it's the best show that I've ever seen, but that one was epic. It was epic. It was just, first of all, I love their new album, and just, I a couple days ago begged begged via. I wouldn't begged isn't the right word, but I sent a suggestive text to Simonette to play Our Town in the. This is actually a funny story. So I asked him to play Our Town in the encore, and Our Town is an Iris DeMette cover. It's a beautiful song, and they play it incredibly. And it's finally now, like if you go on YouTube, because they've done it 3 or 4 times, I think, on this tour, it's finally like people are at least putting clips up so you can see little snippets for what I'm talking about. But so I sent him this text, and I'm probably, I would say it's okay. I would say that there's a good bet he doesn't love friends of his telling him songs to play. It's just my guess. So he didn't reply, so I'm like, oh, I hope I didn't piss him off. And then you know, I've become friends with like not only the guys in the band, but I mean all their like roadies. And so Matt, who's their like roadie, bus driver, everything, I see him before the show. And I'm like, hey, you know, do you have the set list? So he pulls it out of his pocket and he shows me, and it's not on there. What I didn't realize is that they don't put the encore is something that he decides as they go off stage. You know, it's usually 2 or 3 songs. This time it was 3, and so I was all disappointed that he wasn't going to play it. And then all of a sudden they play the song that I saw last as their last song before the encore. I'm like, wow, there's actually a shot. And then, you know, second song of the encore, they played the chords of Midnight on the Interstate to fool everybody. And then they played Our Town. It was incredible. Then they went into Midnight on the Interstate. But it was, you know, Bayfront, Bayfront Park down in Duluth? I mean, it's right on Lake Superior. It's just awesome. I mean, it's just beautiful. It was a perfect night. No mosquitoes. Packed. 10,000 sold out before. The lines to get in there were insane. And you know what's really funny? I shouldn't. You know what? I'm not going to say this. I was going to say that I noticed during the show how people sneak into the show, and it's brilliant.
Okay, all
right. I'll give an example. I'll give it without like.
I love it when you say you're not going to say something, and then you say it.
Let's put it this way: there are fences around all the land of Bayfront Park.
Gotcha.
Yep,
I understand.
But there's not fences through other avenues.
I understand. We're gonna this turned into a long show. The next show will be our live show, July 24th, 5:30. That's correct, right? Next show is a live show.
Yep.
Because Mike will be out of town, so July 24th, 5:30 at Dulono's, 4th Street, downtown Minneapolis. Come on and check that out. We'd like to have some new faces as well as all the regulars there next time. We're going to finish up with a couple more Twitter questions. As always, we didn't get to very many of them because we had so much other to talk about. We do appreciate the questions. Thank you to Dulono's Pizza, downtown Minneapolis, also huge delivery area. Thanks to Twill in the Edina Galleria, fixologyrepair.com, downtown in the Skyway and at the Mall of America, and Tony Hoaglund, Hoaglund. Again, this Saturday, the Viking Update show, the Shaver and Taylor show, we'll be doing live 11:30 and 12:30 at Tony's place. If you want to come out and say hello, maybe get a hat or a shirt, something like that. A couple more Twitter questions. We'll send Michael on his trip from Pat. And this is delicate. I know, and just say pass if you don't want to deal with it.
Pass.
Okay.
No, I'm just
He was going to ask, is Suter as bad for the culture of the locker room as the whispers/rumors suggest?
No, I'm not going to. There's no whispers that I need to discuss.
All right. From Luke Reachins, which wild player is the most likely to be traded for the beginning of the season, if any?
Well, if they're not doing well, any of their guys in their last year, they deal the Stalls, the Zuckers. That's if he's saying in season, that'd be the most.
I think
likely.
he means before the season starts.
Okay, and then before the season, it could be Zucker. I mean, it really could. Depends how much Fenton can stomach us.
From Jer, your thoughts? Victor Louvre trade seems pointless now. Do you agree?
The Victor Louvre trade for Lucia and Birchie?
Yes.
Well, Lucia, both those guys, they knew Birchie was going back. They had a deal in Switzerland this year, and they knew Lucia wanted a fresh start somewhere else, so they just grabbed a depth defenseman. But if you look at the history of Wild trading minor leaguers at the deadline, they're always guys that have asked to be traded that maybe it hasn't fully reported that they have. And they're usually for, they made a trade to Boston years ago. I can't remember who it was. And the guy they traded for, I immediately sent some sources. I'm like, inside the organization, can I get a scouting report on this player, and they just wrote me back, don't bother. Like a lot of times it's that team needs you to take a contract.
Yep.
A lot of time, and in Louv's case, it was like they knew they were traded Riley, so let's just get let's get a defenseman in here and put him in the minors, and maybe one day we bring him up. That type of thing.
2 more Twitter questions, then Michael's off to Italy. From WH Bonnie 14, is it best for the team to just tread water, not do anything significant until Kaprizov arrives, and then start building then?
Well, if that's the case, Wild fans will just be driving me crazy the next 2 years. I mean, if they tread water remember that's
A long
3
time.
seasons from
Yes.
now. I mean, that's a long time to tread water. I don't know about
GM
you.
can't really do that.
I could tread water for probably. I haven't been in like a pool in a long
9
time, but
seconds?
probably for like 4 or 5 minutes before I drown. Treading water for almost 3 seasons would probably put this fan base in a.
So I underestimated when I said he could tread water for 9 seconds?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I did. From Alec, last question. How does a beat writer handle trade talks?
You try to, get people to give you the actual information and not throw stuff against the wall. All again I could tell you is, and I know I've been harping on this, but I'm so tired of, if it's not Elliot Friedman or a beat writer or Bob McKenzie or Pierre LeBrun or Darren Dreger or Chris Johnston telling you trade stuff, don't believe it. We're the ones on the inside. Do you think that Rumor Break on Twitter is finding out? My favorite one was, everybody's saying that the Wild were going to make this deal last week with Toronto, and he had who was going to be in the deal, Gardner and Logan Brown for Dumba. The day that they signed Tavares, the greatest insiders in this sport didn't even know that Tavares was going to sign in Toronto with 100% certainty that anybody was able to break it. Nobody. Because Toronto is the most tight-lipped organization ever that nobody dares to speak. And here's a 32-year-old new GM, and he kept the Lou thing up. So the greatest insiders in the freaking world couldn't break that Tavares was going there. And then a minute later, Rumor Break had who was in the Toronto trade to Minnesota. Use your freaking head, okay? Would you trade Dumba for Jake Gardner or Logan Brown?
No.
So don't ask me about it. And that's my point, is that beat writers ask questions and you try not to throw stuff against the wall. One of our guys at The Athletic had an awful thing happen to him yesterday, and it still might happen, but he had a source, and I know who it was, and it was as good as you can get, telling him that yesterday that Pat Maroon was going to likely sign with the St. Louis Blues. He writes the story. Deal is not done, though. But it's coming from people that are close to Maroon. That story all of a sudden got other teams involved.
Mm-hmm.
And now all of a sudden it's like he was wrong when he wasn't. Now it still might happen. I think Maroon's signing with St. Louis. His son lives there. He's from there. It makes all the sense in the world. But it might not. And then I had his agent on the radio yesterday, and his agent's like, it's not done. We're talking to multiple teams, including, by the way, the Wild. And the Wild are interested, but they got to trade somebody. He said all this on the radio, and we're probably not going to be able to be patient for that to happen. So, Maroon most likely is going somewhere else, but he's got 1, 2, 3-year offers from other teams. And so, so sometimes you also write something with sources and you're wrong. And, I feel bad because then our writer had a little backtrack a little yesterday and say things aren't as likely that they seem. And, how fans are, they start, ripping on him like he was wrong when he absolutely wasn't. But, there are a gazillion ways that I can go with that question. But all I could tell you is that I try not to throw stuff against the wall. When I wrote that Arizona thing, trust me, it created if people knew the stuff I was dealing with behind the scenes after I reported that, they would not even if you were me, you'd probably never want to report something again.
From Wild people or from,
it was so doggone accurate. Fenton all of a sudden basically didn't know who to trust in his organization anymore, and it was not a Wild source that told me. And so that's the thing is I'm trying to. This is where I should probably not talk, but I'm trying to educate Fenton about me right now that he does not always have to think I'm getting stuff. He same thing the other day when I was able to on every one of their free agents get it before. Trust me, it is not from inside the organization. I've covered the league for 24 years. I got sources everywhere. And I'm not trying to sound pompous, but I on free agency and trade deadline, that's where to me I try to make my money, if so to speak, bad metaphor. And so I try to find stuff out. And some writers wait. I don't. I get bored that way. To me, especially now at my new thing, I want people to subscribe and know that they can come to me to find out information. But there's a perfect example. And there's an example. If you read me, I don't throw stuff against the wall. So when I was willing in an article to say that the Wild were talking about a framework with Arizona of Zucker and Niederreiter going there with Ennis for Dvorak and Domi, and the Dvorak thing is what really flipped this thing on its head because Domi was obviously traded at this point, but Arizona didn't want Dvorak to know that he was potentially in a move, and it created a major problem for them. But for me to go that far just shows you that you had it with 100% certainty. And then again, the reason why I was throwing guys like Niederreiter and Zucker out here all the time is that I am talking to other people and I know they're being talked about. So that's my long rant on that one.
I was a big league beat writer from 89 through 2007 on a daily basis before I started doing from 1989 through 1997 before I kind of started doing more features and columns and everything else. And there were times I covering both the Twins and the Vikings where somebody would call me up and say, hey, that story you wrote, the GM or the PR director's walking around the offices asking who told me.
Yeah.
People freak out when you have inside information.
And I can't convey to you how nervous it made me because I didn't want anybody.
You don't want anybody to get fired. Stuff.
And I also know how tenuous the situation is, and so so it was tough. And trust me, I don't blame Fenton. Fenton doesn't know most of the people, so he wants to know that everybody's loyal to him and not giving me leaking something that sensitive out. Right. And it was a scary thing. So.
I have inside sources telling me Michael Russo's on his way to Italy, and that we'll be at Dulono's downtown Minneapolis, July 24th, 5:30. We'd love to see you there. Thanks for all the support. Thanks for listening. Thanks to Dulono's, Twill, Fixology, and Tony Hoaglund. And we will see you on July 24th.
Pretty little city built on a hillside. Music in the bars and fire in the sky. We went to the beach and it was covered in ice. And I used to call it home. So much coming out, there's nothing going in. I know that you feel like you're never gonna win. Oh, but the world won't forgive a winner.
Let's say you just bought a house. Bad news is, you're one step closer to becoming your parents. You'll proudly mow the lawn, ask if anybody noticed you mowed the lawn, tell people to stay off the lawn, compare it to your neighbor's lawn, and complain about having to mow the lawn again. Good news is, it's easy to bundle home and auto through Progressive and save on your car insurance, which, of course, will go right into the lawn. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers. Discount not available in all states or situations.
Security threats are everywhere. But with Xfinity XFi, you're notified of threats to your in-home Wi-Fi network, so all your connected devices are protected. That's simple, easy, awesome. Go online, call 1-800-XFINITY, or visit today. Restrictions apply.